from what I understand, is a lot of people don't want to put their butt on the toilet seat, so they either stand on the toilet seat or they just hover over it.
Honestly,
and then they just paint the room. Yo, Grateful, your setup looks a whole lot different. What's going on?
Yeah, man. You know, with all these videos we've been making, YouTube, you know, those sponsors have been rolling in. We've been making all this cash, dude. I mean, it felt only right that I made a studio to put these beautiful videos and content that we put out. So
I know, you know, getting that sponsorship directly for Lindsay Lohan was pretty wild, but
yeah. Hey, you know,
bank account's filling up. That's fine.
She pays well.
Yeah,
but
she pays in mushrooms and cocaine, which is great.
It's all you need. It's all you need. Well, we got our buddy Flamm here with us today. What the fuck's going on, dude?
Good morning, fellas. How are you?
Well, doing good, man. I appreciate you coming to join us on this early Saturday morning.
Very happy to be here. It was right on line. We just waking up, grabbing a quick cuppa, grabbing the joint I set up last night, and yeah, happy to be here blethering with you. Happy to be around Nerd Bros because he avoided me recently at the Yag compound in Johnny's Orchard.
Dude, I wanted to go so bad. I sent you guys nudes. Come on.
Mate, I've got some knuckle cheese right here to throw in if I get through my joint too quickly during the show.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I've been loving that Nuka cheese.
That Nuka cheese is good, man. That was I grew it a while back, man, and that even after storing the flower for a little while, it still stayed pretty good. Hummingbird's definitely got some great stuff out there.
I love Hummingbird. He's fucking hilarious.
He's a cool cat too, man. Cool cat, man.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, man. What have you been up to, man? What have you been up to lately?
Lots and lots. We so we do our farmers markets during the spring, summer, fall, and we offer like free year-round delivery of our microgreens.
Okay.
So those who don't know, my wife and I have been growing microgreens now for I think it's 5 years, and then so probably grown them for 4 and a bit years. But this is our 4th year of business. So, which is wild to think. I still think of that like I should be doing like a part-time job somewhere else because it's quieter, but it's like, no, I'm trying to use this time to build up stuff for the summer, even though we're year-round producers.
That's awesome that you're able, you found a way to be able to do it year-round. You're able to find a way to keep steady with it. I imagine it's got to be difficult for people that are in that farming industry or, you know, produce industry, right? Like there's definitely cycles, but if you can find, you know, with you doing the microgreens, you do culinary mushrooms, and that you can do year round, and you found success in it.
And that was like part of the mindset going in when we decided to like go all in plants, like because we went all in plants, like, and we made like the same, you know, lots of like classic mistakes as new business owners, some other ones where it's like, how would we ever know this is happening? Like things like dumping so much of our equity money into healthcare premiums that we didn't end up using. And now finding accountants like, no, that's you shouldn't have paid that. You should have done this, but you can't get the money back. So it's things like that, or paying back debt that we acquired really aggressive. And now we're in this time of the year where it's like a lot quieter, and it's like, oh, I should have kept some of that money around to just pay regular bills. But, you know, you're trying to do what the good thing is. But I've just kind of found with money, like there's always going to be a way, whatever it can be. And if you've got the best of intentions, I think it will work out. And it's really fun. My wife has taken up pottery again. She got into it when we moved out here.
That's awesome.
Wife got in the way a bit. She took on the outside projects, mostly in the garden, because I'm an indoor gardener. I do garden for clients outdoors, and I enjoy growing outdoors, but my true passion is indoor growing. and she just absolutely crushed it outside. Like, just a beautiful, productive garden, lots of different kinds of flowers. Like, I'll go out there, I'll see her out there. I feel so bad because she is just like full on, like, shoving away, fueling up wheelbarrows, having the time of her life. Her chickens are following her. My daughter's just causing chaos, running rings around her. and it came out so absolutely beautiful. And so now, you know, like I said, things are quieter, trying to appreciate that, trying to build things up for what could come up. I'll be doing some content and things like that, and meaningful, like, right, not and like you guys do, right? Like, I keep bringing up the rosin video. Like, it was great watching that with my cousin. He'd never seen anything like that, and he's grown years ago. But like, sitting down, he's like, "Oh, you've got this stuff," and I'm like, "Yeah, man. That's why I want to watch it. I need to get back into doing it." And then from talking to other folk, it's like, "Yeah, I'm going to do a grow video on microgreens using the tray to grow." Like, that is on my list for this week. In fact, I'll probably start today and germinate the seeds. But just make things more accessible, right? And
I'm really excited to see this from you, man. I know that's one thing. You know, one of the goals that I had coming into, you know, being Grateful Nerd. You know, and even before that, the early days when I made that first little bed setup video, that was my first ever video before, you know, the two of us got together and started doing this. And that was my intention through the whole thing, is I just want to be able to share the way that I do things, and it works for me. And if I can put it out in the world for someone else to see, and hopefully it helps them in, you know, whatever way, or, you know, and one thing that I found with putting this content out is, you know, you may know something, but you putting it out, you're going to receive something back, right? You're going to hear from people. You're going to see how, you know, maybe they liked it for this reason, or maybe they didn't like it for this reason. So it helps you learn as a person and a content creator, a gardener, you know, whatever it is you want to say. So it's really cool. And I know you're
like teaching kind of thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. You want to teach people.
Yeah.
Right? You do your classes. You do all kinds of things.
That's what my degree's in. My degree's in physical education. Over there, it's a bit more than just like chucking a ball in and blowing a whistle. I think because it was at the university it was at, they wanted to kind of legitimize it more. So we had like sports science and exercise physiology and things. And I've always just been a lifelong learner, like jack of all trades, master of none. What's the rest of the line?
That's how I am too.
Right. And I think things like with the ADHD and the sport, that just that constant failure and learning, like people have assumed that it's different when my wife gives me feedback at times, right? But when I'm in a work setting or, you know, sports settings, whatever, I want to be better. So you can give me the feedback. Nowadays, I don't know if it's stubborn or just like, this is what I want to do. I'm a lot more like, oh, I can take that on board. Thank you very much. Whether or not I'll use it. Whereas when I was younger, I want to be so much better. I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Just like headstrong into it. But yeah, I genuinely love teaching folk. Like when I've grown so many things in this tiny space up here. Like, but I had my first run of indoor mushrooms on a larger scale, and like a 3.5 by 3.5 in here. And when I had these big columns of golden oyster mushrooms growing, my first thing wasn't like, oh, I'm going to sell this and make lots of money. It was, oh, who can I teach this to? Like, I was so excited. Like, oh, it was actually kind of easier, this part, than I thought it was going to be. And so like on Fridays yesterday was another one of my like future farmers class with these kiddos. Nice. And it's just great because sometimes before it, I'm like, oh, what am I going to do this week? What am I going to do this week? Like, I want to keep it fresh and new and something I'll be enjoying. And then it comes to, and I end up having a great time, right? I liken it to going swimming sometimes. Like, I don't want to get in the water. And then you get in, you're like, oh, it's not so bad. Actually,
it's not too bad. Yeah. Now, on the real side here.
Yeah.
How is it with, like, I know for me, younger kids, and you're trying to give them instruction on things or doing this, not being able to keep their attention or anything would drive me nuts. I'd be yelling all the time, like, I'd be pulling a Johnny, fuck these kids. And how do you deal with that, man? Are they pretty? They're very receptive on this. Obviously, they want to be there to learn.
So I've been very fortunate. I've never really had much an issue with like classroom management. Like that was never. Whenever I got feedback as like a young teacher, and that I never got maybe unless it was in a classroom. But as far as like doing PE sports, I've always had that rule of thumb. Everyone should be active. Like that's what, sorry, Americans, but baseball, right? There's really only a couple folk that are active at one time.
Sure.
You're standing there doing nothing, right? Same as cricket. Can't stand cricket. It's English. But the idea I want is, treat others like how you want to be treated. Well, I want to be engaged the whole time. So I want hands-on things. When we do classes for adults as well, it's you're making the substrate bags yourself. You're mixing it. You're inoculating. You're using the seal, or if we do buckets or whatever. And so that's one thing is like, you've got to, with the planning, right? I'm at a stage in my life, and it was very quick as well, where kind of the ADHD thing, maybe like doing things on the fly. If I have the knowledge, I can present it well enough on the fly to teach people anything, right? But there's
you have a great personality to be able to do that, man. Like you're so outgoing, and I mean, your presence, because we got to hang out at Johnny's, like you were saying. You come in, you're like the light, the ginger of the party just comes in. There he is.
It's well, thanks, mate. I don't want to be a sewer bastard. Like there's in the west coast of Scotland, right? There's tons of folk that are just miserable, right? And not any I mean, everyone's got things going on, right? But I always try and equate what's really going on in the world compared to this. Unless it's like severe mental health, that's a different story. But I mean, I just sewer-face bastards. It's like, come on, it's not that bad. And I've always had this kind of more sunnier disposition and cheerleader. And for a while, I kind of went away, right? Like a corporate gig, like really sucked the life out. That's another one of the things of I need to know what's for me and what's not. And I was not active in this role. I was a lot of sitting at the desk trying to ask me. That's just not going to work, right? We'll just skip by. It's just not going to work. And getting back to those classes, when you're dealing with kids, and especially there's one kid, I mentioned him in the post that I made last night. He is just like me, riddled with ADHD, right? Riddled with it. And he's a handful in a lot of his classes. But in my class, he's a leader. He's passionate about it. He knows some of it. He just went to town yesterday and just did his own thing. And he kind of got ahead of himself and poked a hole through one of the bowls I took in. I was like, great idea how to drain this, because we were washing seeds. But I didn't plan on us poking them out. And so then another kid started copying and that. And I really wanted it to be a moment. It was the same with me in sport, right? I was never particularly awesome. And I was pretty good at rugby. I played like a varsity level rugby.
Oh, no kidding.
But I mean, just coaching at football, at soccer. Like my mates constantly say I'm the worst they've ever came. And we won, like the school team won some championships and I was part of that. Just my 2 goals I scored was just awful. And but I've just always enjoyed it, and I'm open to new experiences. And I think that's why, I like to travel. Kind of how I ended up in America in the first place, right? It was like, I wanted to go experience something new. I wanted to dive in all about it. There was skiing, to go do a ski season. And
so that's what brought you to America was skiing, basically.
Yeah. So I was a PE teacher, right? And I'd got to go on like a pay, and I'd always started skiing when I went to university. It was like a 2-day elective to go up north in Scotland, and we just had a riot. We stayed in like a hostel, my whole group of folk that I go to school with all the time. And it pissed down with rain. We were falling in puddles. It was just funny. It was like, even the best sports people, if they were playing rugby for Scotland kind of level, they were falling in puddles and stuff because they'd never skied either. So it was just really great. And I had some wonderful characters as lecturers as well. So anyway, I ended up saving up and going to France on like a week trip and just loving it, learning lots. And then when I was a teacher, I got an opportunity to go on like a foreign trip, and I didn't have to pay for anything. And I had to be around the kids, but during the day they went skiing with instructors. So we just got to ski from bar to bar, having a hot chocolate, a glass of wine. And I was like, this is it. And so I started getting more into it, going a couple of weekends up north in Scotland, real steep mountaineering stuff, as my old lecturer would say. And it just captured me, right? I was just obsessed. I started watching videos, hyper-focused now I look back, right? Hyper-focused. And I got to win that free trip, and I was like, man, I had to do more of this. I got the itchy feet. My papa passed, and I was like, he would have wanted me to travel. And so I didn't speak any other languages. So I just ticked a box to go to Utah. And I went out there, and instead of volunteering my time to teach volleyball at lunch, I'm going skiing for 2 hours on my lunch break. And I just met the most awesome people. It was kind of like going back to university kind of thing again. I was in my early 20s and we just house parties all the time out there. I met my wife. She gets stuck with me first day of work. Didn't understand a word I was saying for about 2 weeks because my accent was like so thick. And so now we joke, how many people were out on the wrong size skis and ill-fitting bindings and whatnot. But I just really got into that culture. And then along with that came like my reintroduction to cannabis again. I've been smoking on and off since I was 15, but because you heard of these jobs or these things, or you'll lose your visa if you fail a drug test. Like nobody drug tests for anything in the UK.
Yeah.
It's another one of those scams. And so I just got right into to skiing and getting into the ganj. And after a while, Bets and I were dating. We were dating long distance, and we just made a go of it. We moved in straight together and that. We got a house 5 years down the line thanks to the USDA rural loan. There's one of my biggest tips I ever give people. If you need to buy a house, look up USDA rural, and they paid our down payment. We didn't pay closing costs. Like, we moved into this awesome house and then did a bunch of work, sold it, and then moved out here. And it's wild. I'm cutting out tons of stuff, like getting caught. I get stuck in Scotland when the visas went away. So I came back as a toilet cleaner. I worked on mountain maintenance. So I'd ski from lodge to lodge or to toilet and just puff weed the whole time. My boss didn't give a shit.
Didn't sound like a bad gig, man.
It was just brilliant, man. So there was lots of it that like sucked, but it was hilarious. There was like a dozen of us on this same boat who were more established. I was like supervising the shop at this time, and it was a big shop. The boss we had was just like, as long as everything gets done by the end of the day, just take your time and get it done. And that's what I did, just ski the thing. And so I joked like with my wife, I came across here as an immigrant toilet cleaner, and this is how I get repaid. And everybody on it had a degree. All but one fella had a degree, and one of them, who I'm still in touch with almost on the daily, his was like from Oxford or Cambridge. Yeah, we're just on them. We're just literally cleaning toilets. And skiers and snowboarders, because of all the gear, their aim is terrible. So you were definitely working when you're doing it. And we were making like let's say $9 to $11 an hour in that range. It wouldn't have been much. But that passion for skiing, and it's getting eroded, right? There was a big labour strike with the ski patrols this week. This last month, and it's made like major news. It's crashed the stocks a bit. Oh, it's really interesting to get into, just as I look at like American labour. And I know people involved in it, and it's things that we said for ages. And I feel, and a few other folk in the same boat as me feel, we were kind of pushed out, right? Like the true kind of ski bums, the last of the ski bums in Park City, the kind of culture side of it. It's kind of gone. I think that's why I'm probably so protective over things to do with cannabis and autoflowers, is because I've seen what happens when we let these corporate C-suite types in. Like it's
take it over, and that's it. Good. Change it. It's not the same.
Because it's like, you know, things like skateboard and all the rest of it. It's jock sports, like, snowboard and half pipes in the Olympics. But we're doing insane stunts that, like, because I don't know. I'm not as fan of the jocks, but I'm more about like the culture. And it's like when we kick it, right? Not often. I don't always talk about like growing, right? I just want to hear about people and their experience
and life.
Life, and it's just so interesting to me, right? I mean, America's such a melting pot. It needs to be more celebrated. To get like it's always international. My wife was the only North American woman working at the ski shop that first season.
Oh, no kidding.
And there was two North American boys. Everyone else is international. So the Argentinians would like post a picture of Diego Maradona doing the hand of God to annoy the English boy. It was one of my roommates. He's, fucking hell, you've done it again. And it was like in Lethal Weapon where they keep on putting Murdoch doing the chicken dance. And he's like, oh, fucking hell. It was great.
Well, I am glad that you came over to ski and scrub toilets. We are a better country with you, sir.
America's toilet game is pretty good. Like, we like to make the bathroom stall look like a Jackson Pollock. So like, you always get your work cut out for you there.
Is that why there's always that like larger gap between the stall door and the frame so you can peer through and see the artwork?
Yeah. we just love looking at dicks. I think from what I understand is a lot of people don't want to put their butt on the toilet seat, so they either stand on the toilet seat or they just hover over it.
Honestly,
and then they just paint the room.
Yeah, it was honestly like, because me and this group of boys that we all met out there, right? There's about 7 of us on this daily WhatsApp group, and it's really like true brothers, brethren, right? We have got the same sense of humor. It's but all very different jobs and things like that, and some different views, but also very close views on a lot of things. And we always talk about poop, right? There's a great story about one of the lads who was at the top of the signature mountaintop, right? It's about 10,000 feet. And he radioed down, he's a lifty, he radios down to get, hey, can someone come let me out? I need to go to the bathroom. And nobody came. So he was like, what am I going to do? Right. And it's a busy lift because it's like the most challenging. There's people going up there, either it's like, I'm going to do it, or like, oh, I'm going to do it. So there he is up there, caught out. What does he do? He goes round the back of the lift shack, takes a tin of Pringles, poops in the empty Pringles tin, steals it, puts it there, like, I'll get that after the shift on the way down. I don't know what he liked with snow, for all I know. Steals that and then, goes about his day. So then he has a long weekend and then gets sick. And so I'm not sure how many days it sat up there. It's frozen shite, it's frozen jobby. And
at least it was frozen.
Oh God. I'm assuming this is now wild because I've been here 16 years now. So this is like over 10 years ago, right? It'd be amazing if it was still up there, like fossilized by like the Utah heat, but maybe with a sour cream and onion aroma to it.
That was my question, was in your head when you told this story, what flavor Pringles was it?
Well, here's my question to you. If Pringles' motto is once you pop, you can't stop, why do they give you the resealable plastic lid?
Yeah.
Explain that.
These are good questions.
They're stop maybe emergency situations, like you're halfway through and someone stabs you or something.
Or you're at the top of a
I'll
chair
put these away for later now.
And you got to take a shite.
Well, one thing that I definitely wanted to bring up before we got too far off, we've
with all the poop jokes too far off.
Wanted to mention Hawk. We've got Paranoid's new show, the Having a Wonderful Time with Paranoid Grower.
What a great name for it too, because he stopped. I know you talked about this, but he stopped by with Matt for that, and it was really like super last minute and everything. It was a wonderful time.
He was just traveling through and
talking about my accent. Man, he has got a killer accent, and that southern twang is phenomenal. And then my mate, my local mate that I've just got getting into growing, I've been getting him equipment, and I made 2 things of soil for him and all that. He's from an hour away from him, but my mate gets a hard time because his accent's almost gone. I can hear it because I like talking about accents and that, but he's Paranoid is strong.
I love it. Yeah,
just a nice guy and interesting, and again that community thing, right? Guy. He goes out his way to travel to meet folk in that, and there needs to be more of that, right? Otherwise, the culture, it's great. The online culture is amazing. I can't believe what a group of folk I've found in this group of like your average grow universe, right?
Yep, absolutely.
It's really fucking dope. But we need to do in-person things, right?
Yeah. No, I mean,
speaking of the devil, he just texted me.
Did he?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, man. I'm excited for him, man. It seems like he's really enjoying it. I think we'll be hearing more from him soon. I don't want to give away too much. So, but he, this is, for him to do whatever it is he sees fit with, man. So, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy hearing from him. I love hanging out with the dude. I'm going to see him 2 times this year. We're going to a Billy Strings concert together, going to Muddy Roots. And yeah, man, that's the one thing I like about him is he's always trying to go out and meet people and talk to people. And, he's one of those guys where he doesn't have a mean bone bone in his body. He's just a great guy. So
yeah, just really love it. And I really enjoyed listening to the episode he was talking about, like the festival, and like I used to do festivals back in the day. I don't think I would do one nowadays. Not staying at it anyway.
You got to come to Muddy Roots. You have to. It's so
I like a bit of punk. I mean, that's like music wise. Oh yeah, we have to make sure we talk about some music and film and things. But music wise, I'm all over the place. There is some like bits of punk I like here and there, but more so your old like late 70s, early 80s British punk compared to over here. But I do have a soft spot for like Blink-182 shit. Like take off your pants and jacket.
I was just listening to Crass this morning before we got on.
There you go. Nice.
Oh, yeah. I can make so many songs with just one chord.
But yeah, so I'd like to officially, say welcome to him, and it's great to have him on board with us, and it'll be cool to see what's going on.
No, absolutely agree, and as well because he's clearly got a wide range of interests, but then and still going to. I mean, because he's getting older, right? I can tell from the gingerness, right? I've got mine is getting very pale.
Is that what happens when a ginger ages? It goes from red to like pale. It starts. Is there like there's a little shift?
It's our power's getting sapped. That's why we've got to keep topping it up with this stuff, with that iron brew.
Yeah, and it's funny actually too, because when we were all talking back and forth about it, we had to come up with a name for it, right? So of course, all three of us kind of talking, and it was kind of something that Nerd had brought up because he just naturally says it in conversation all the time, and so it worked out wonderful. Having a wonderful time.
Having a wonderful time.
I love it, dude. I'm excited. It's nice to have another podcast to be able to listen to and be able to hear it's he's definitely community based. So to hear more people from the community and recalls on their get-togethers, I think will be a cool little thing.
Well, because sometimes it's like you're just at the get-together, just kind of listening in, right? That's what I've tried to frame it more as, because I don't know why I put up, I don't want to listen to podcasts. Or you meet people that podcasts are just like their entire personality, and you're just like, true, and that's fine. Everyone's into their own thing, right? Yeah. People would definitely turn their nose up on what I'm into. But when I'm doing those days where I'm gardening, like I'm listening to podcasts all the time. It was funny referencing this might be an older episode. I'm not listening to your guys' back catalogue in any like particular order, and we've lost him. When I said that podcast, your whole personality, got really offended and left.
Yeah, he was like, "Fuck this,
fuck that guy."
It's like, you think all I do is pod? Yo, so the funny thing is, when they were recording that first episode with Paranoid, I was actually in the room. I was in the bottom. I wasn't actually on the screen because it was the first day I got the flu. So I had the flu all week.
Right.
So they're sitting there recording, and I'm like sitting here. I'm like, and then they're like, I was laying there with my eyes closed, and I heard him go, "All right, we're done," and I'm just like, click. All right, bye guys.
Listening to podcasts on like time and a half. Actually, I learned that tip from, there was a blind politician in the UK that would listen to, this was back in the 80s and 90s, would listen to parliamentary things at like times 2 at least. Like he'd picked up that skill just really, really fast. And
I couldn't do that, man. My brain could not process that stuff.
Well, I generally listen on like, now I'm slowing it down, trying to appreciate it, right? But like when I listen to folk, it's not the same, because I'm like, oh yeah, you're usually speaking like a lot faster, a wee bit squeakier. But it's great. Awesome. Like so much stuff nowadays is like self-taught. Like all the microgreens, I learned that from YouTube. Like it was, because then lockdown happened, we started getting more into it. Like nobody was doing it around there, and so like the amount of things I've just learned from online and people sharing that knowledge, and that's why it's me not liking particularly being in front of the camera. I'm like, well, like we pointed out, there's lots of things that I do that might work for somebody else, and or I've seen something, I'll mention it. Like, I'm definitely not a hoarder of knowledge. I want to normalize cannabis as much as possible. That's why I like doing the super soil style, because doing water only and not doing like a bunch of amendments too, but strictly just doing water only and being happy with what you get is what most people apply to the garden. If they're growing tomatoes or peppers, they might supplement, but a lot of people don't, or they just put more manure or compost on top. And so trying to get cannabis around here felt more like that is like one of my kind of like life goals, is normalizing. If kids could go up to a plant and touch it and get higher, that'd be a different story, right? I wouldn't be talking like this. But the fact is that's not what happens. And
it's just a plant. It's not doing anything.
And the amount of there's like been pushed back, like some politicians here were trying to push back on home grow, like 12 plants is supplying the black market. It's like, no, that's not right, because you have to account for people effing things up, and you have to account for if they're popping regular seeds and getting male and female, and so they just don't know. But because I do what I do, I don't necessarily want to be the one to go do that, right? I've got no problems sticking up. It's got me in trouble my whole life, right? This is one of the things where I've like always kept a kind of lid on it, and doing all this stuff is so new. Shout out to Rasta K. I hope he comes back to the community. So he'd pushed me ages ago. That was the first time I did a podcast appearance, and I was really like, the only reason I'd started posting actual content or pictures of things was because I kind of got outed a wee bit when I won Stone Ninja's giveaway. And so then I was like, you know what? It's out there now. It's why not? Blah, blah, blah. And it ends up now it's legal here, so it's not a big deal. But you just never know. You want to be safe. The amount of horror stories you hear. But it's
tough, man.
It's tough to find that. But yeah, there's so much different awesome knowledge out there of, especially around, like, I have this hard thing of want to be good at something, right? Just generally. But there's the ADHD things that come in where it's like, oh, do you really need to do that? You skip by that, or, oh God, that sounds monotonous. Maybe we should try to do that. And so having to find that discipline, which growing plants and watering microgreens daily, for example, like, and I need to do that for my own discipline. Like,
that's one thing that I have found with growing is I am definitely ADHD. There's something, and being able to have
touch of the test. That's what I have.
However you want to put it. I definitely have one of those, like, I like the instant gratification of things, right? I like things that are grabbing my attention and keep me there. And growing a plant really helped me kind of slow that down, because even though you're seeing it every day and it's not really, it's maybe growing a little bit, that's just enough for me to kind of scratch that itch where it's like, it's keeping my attention just enough. And, there's so many different things to grow and try. And growing is definitely, not only does the end product act as a medicine and it helps me, but just the act of growing it is great in itself.
Absolutely. Nerds, this is how long you've been growing more and more plants. I heard about your herb gardens and things like that. What's been some of the things you've been most enjoying about getting into plants of all kinds?
Plants of all kinds? All right. So as like a lifelong computer guy, like, as I'm getting older, I'm like wanting to connect with nature more. Where I've been like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've been like a cyborg my whole life, and then now I'm like trying to become human again. Because, like,
I want
to get back to the ground.
before I was Nerd Grows, like, I've been making websites like my whole life, as a lot of you guys know, and yeah, just like computers are my favorite thing. Like, the internet is my favorite thing. But trying to
data from Star Trek is your favorite character.
Yeah, basically.
I'm an electronic Pinocchio.
But I'll tell you, that's one of the things that's helped me with him is because I don't look at it like that. Like, I am absolutely terrible. Everybody knows how my gardening style, right? Like, I just do things by the handful or feel. But he's definitely helped me kind of try to focus attention.
Cool.
And that's he's definitely someone to talk to. So I know you said you were looking into doing the content of your own, right? Yeah. Making videos. And he's definitely helped me out with that, us creating outlines. What I used to do is I used to just like, all right, we're going to film in the garden today. And I would put the camera and I'd have like a loose idea of what I'm doing. But really, I mean, like if you want to make your time valuable within, while you're doing it, not screw things up and be able just to kind of smoothly go through it, really setting up like a list, right? To kind of keep you on that task. I've found this helped me.
All right. So what really happened is he was just winging it. And then one day in Discord, I posted a screenshot of my video editing software, and then Johnny just roasted him. He was like, why is there 400 cuts in this footage right now?
It's been a learning process. I'm working on it. We're not all perfect. So
I love
it's definitely been something.
The Johnny roast.
It's been something that's been a tough, dude. It's been tough.
But it's good, right? It's like our brains, ADHD brains, right? We push against that kind of stuff, right? But what people with ADHD have, we do need it, right? And there's I think I have to stop trying to make it like as good as possible all the time, because that's unachievable, right? We talk about goal setting, that's an unachievable thing. I want to be at a point where I'm not getting myself worked up into more a tizzy, because I know I should have a checklist for when I leave for the farmer's market. So I'm not driving 2 minutes down the road and my brain goes into hyper focus of, do you have everything? And I'm like, where's the fucking cash box? And I'm turning it. I've forgotten the microgreens at times. So the big cooler that needs to go in and think that actually yesterday I left a pack of greens on the roof rack and started driving, and I got a fair distance. That just shows the quality of my microgreens. Our microgreens, they don't fly off the roof racks. They're so dense and nutritiously dense. So I
just rooted into the hood of the car.
Yeah, right. I'd forget my own heat if it wasn't so firmly affixed to my neck. But it's that discipline from the plant. It's understanding of, you're going to be more successful if you write it down. Anybody who is successful, they have goal settings, they write things down, they plan it out. And, there's some ways I am thankful for the corporate life that I had for a while, even though it was corporate ski, it was still like, there was some quite corporate things, because it taught me tons. Like there was so much knowledge in classes and leadership classes and things that I got access to a therapist for free, which was amazing. And there was just so many, again, different avenues of learning things, of learning from people. Like that year that I did, 5 months, whatever it was, that I did the toilet cleaning, because I got to go to different restaurants and had hang out there for a while and help out, I got to see like almost a dozen different management styles, and see when things like the guys that get stuck in because they're part of the crew, which has always been kind of like me, but then you leave blind spots because you're not getting your paperwork done and all the rest of it because you're too involved in being part of the team. So it was great as far as my leadership journey as that goes. But that's definitely what I want to have some of my content, is just addressing ADHD things, because it really took a toll on me for a bit, like when I wasn't taking care of myself and getting out and skiing and exercising. I was just so overwhelmed with work and having a newborn and all this kind of stuff. I couldn't smoke, I couldn't consume, because I ran a fleet of vehicles. So I microdosed, and that's why I am very blessed for the mushrooms, right? It's a huge thing. Even macro doses. Like I went into one knowing I'm going to be fucking miserable, and it was a cold, wet, snowy day in Utah. And I went to the top of this kind of mountain, I wouldn't call it mountain, but like a rocky crag thing, and I've sat with a camp chair and just fucking bawled my eyes out for a couple hours. Like, how are you going to get out of this mess? And then a few weeks later, COVID hit, and that changed fucking everything, right?
Did you manifest COVID? Is that what you're saying?
Because the manifestors came through. It's kind of like
so I don't know if you've heard of it, but I use a system called Getting Things Done. It's a productivity system, and I've been my job sent me to
serious, or is that like a dig?
No, yeah, it's a real thing.
Okay, sorry. Okay. I thought it was like, have you thought about writing it down? That's like the ADHD thing. Have you thought about making a list? I know I've got to make a fucking list. I don't like making it. Sorry, on you go. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. So my job sent me to an all-day seminar for it. Like, this was like 8 years ago or something. And then I just fell in love with it, and I've been using it ever since. And it's basically it has rules to it. Like anything that takes less than 2 minutes to do, you don't procrastinate on it, you just do it on the spot. But the big thing is a lot of people will fill up their to-do list with stuff and then they'll look at it and get super overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So to alleviate that, what this system does is when you put something on your to-do list, instead of giving yourself a deadline, you tag it by where you have to be to do it and how long it's going to take.
Okay.
And then that way you just go about your day. And then whenever you have downtime, you say, where am I? How much time do I have? And then you just sort your list to that. Like, oh, I'm at home and I have 15 minutes. So I'll sort it to home and short and then knock those out. And it helps because you think about things like, oh, I'm spending a half hour in the waiting room at the doctor, right? So I'll switch my list to phone and short and then knock those out. And then, but yeah, that's what I do. I use an app called Todoist, which is a to-do list software that is actually specifically built for the getting things done system, or it's like based on it. But yeah, it helps a lot. I've been like hyper productive ever since I started. Like I got in the flow of it.
I've used someone's before. I will definitely look into it because I sat last night with a whiteboard and wrote out a bunch of things on daily chores. Like instead of having it in my planner, which I've been quite good at keeping a plan, not perfect, but like quite good at keeping a planner. And rather than have the same ones of check the reservoirs, check this, check that, just have it on the whiteboards and go by it and just get it done. But the phone things do work for me, but I've used them before, and like the journaling aspects of some of them as well can be quite helpful. I find that when my mind is like last night was going with the clappers, but I was excited to do this, and then there's these other kind of things. And looking back, I'm fortunate. I must have fell asleep early. Grateful was up to go leave for this trip. And he's like, mate, I got a podcast in the morning, go to bed. I'm like, why am I up? I'm watching some like this awfully shitty ski movie. Just because I hadn't seen it in years. I'm like, I'm fucking just smoking watching this because I can.
It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I see you tag me in a story, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? He's like, what are you doing?
Press substitute in the morning.
We all got somewhere to be in the morning. What the fuck are we still doing awake?
Oh my God. My mum said I never slept till I was 5.
Oh no.
Just
basically
non-fucking stop.
I was one of those I sleepwalk like when I was real young, so I was running around the house all night.
I think my wife will fall asleep anywhere. I'll fall asleep in public transport real easily, but my wife, she'll fall asleep in front of the TV all the time or putting her daughter down. So she's like asleep sometimes 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm up till all kind of hours. But our F1, she's got a mix of both of it. She's very ADHD in that, but then she does actually sleep. She gets up quite early now. But she's quite good.
Yeah,
that's cool. So
my big thing that my family thinks is weird is that I always fall asleep at the dentist. Because they're just like, lay back and open your mouth, and I'm like, fine. My mom said even when I was little, I'd go to get like my braces tightened, and they're like, yeah, he just opens his mouth and falls asleep. It's great.
Best patient ever.
It's great, man. But yeah, imagine a guy that is that organized with his lists, and he's got to deal with me.
That's good. Test him.
So the big thing about it, I think, is like thinking of it the opposite way, right? Instead of being like the list, because if you don't write something down, you're constantly trying to juggle everything in your head.
Yes,
and that's way worse.
Yeah.
So
I'd rather juggle it and then have a mental breakdown though, and then put it on paper.
So the cool thing about the system is like when I have family time, I'm not thinking about work because I know it's all written down and I can just pick up where I left off as soon as I keep going. Right.
We've got a wee post-it note by the front door that says Seth, check planner. Because I got this therapist in Utah. I had this one therapist who was amazing, who like truly did change my life in a variety of ways. Not just about anxiety and depression. So we talk about me being a cheerleader. Like I had genuine anxiety, depression. People tried to prescribe me a whole bunch of shit. Yada yada yada. Yeah. then I got this other therapist to deal with ADHD, and I was like, and she's like, oh, my husband has it. I was like, holy fuck, I've hit the jackpot. She's got me reading CBT skills, like cognitive behavioral therapy kind of things. And she's like, my husband has it. I was like, oh, can you give me some tips? Like, what do you do? We use a lot of post-it notes, and that's all she could come up with. And my heart just sunk. I was like, oh, I thought I was going to get something here. But yeah, having just a couple well-placed ones of like, check for this, just check for that. And I'll go back, yep, I should go check my planner. Because I don't get like the dopamine hit, right? But I've started telling myself, because I'm really bad for negative self-talk. I'll tell myself like, oh, good job, mate. You remembered to finally check your planner again. And look what you've done. Tick, tick, tick. That should feel good. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah. Now, how have you found the plant help you with these types of things? You know, dealing with your either depression, anxiety, or your ADHD.
I think growing plants for people in general is just good, right? Like there's lots of studies on it, getting your hands in soil and caring for something and all the rest, right? And that's definitely the case for me and all the schedule and the discipline that we just talked about. Because if I lie in bed, if I've forgotten something, I'll get out and go do it. Like the amount of times I forget that the peas of the sunflowers are soaking and I need to go drain them and then plant them, because otherwise the sunflowers will fuck up if you don't soak them for too long. So, but the plant specifically, it was first time smoking Jack Herrera, like a true Jack Herrera, years ago. We'd get good bud round there because of all the ski town and a bit of money, and so that came through, and it was just like really changed how I felt. Like, what the fuck? And then it was one and done. Right, didn't see it again for ages, years probably. But growing night owl seeds, mango sunrise was just like, holy fuck, it just calmed the noise down. It allowed me to focus more. It was just, I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe that I grew this, that I had 4 more seeds of this to go. And it was just an absolute game changer. And it's always I enjoy the smell and the flavor of it all as well. And all, like, that's what I love about this, right? Like, it is truly, without a shadow of doubt in my mind, it is medicine, right? I am living proof of it because I use it for ADHD and I use it for my pain, right? I've talked enough about how much I love marathon for my sciatica and things. It is wonderful for that. But I also love, like we talked about, the culture and the art and the merch and stickers and all that. And I've liked that in other parts. Like when I look around here, there's tons of like skiing and snowboarding stickers and things and fly fishing stickers. And that's what's so amazing about it. It's so complex and it's fucking cool. And like smoking joints and that isn't the healthiest way to consume. Like I try to vape. I need to actually get that disciplined into vaping more flower during the day. There's so many different avenues of doing it. There's so many different cultures within cultures. And it's just it's so interesting. So like, as far as like what's piqued my interest in, doing something that's good for you, like, you get told this thing that cannabis isn't that. And I was never really hit with that a lot, that part of growing up. Even my doctor had talked about it in kind of early doors. But when I look at these plants, it's hard not to smile, right? Like, I've been fortunate. I've had I don't know if I've had a lot of fuck ups. I've had some cataclysmic ones and that, but I always learn from it. I've always made it work. It's just really fulfilling. Like, it is without doubt. Like, I feel with lots of purpose if I continue like that teaching part of it as well, of teaching people cannabis or teaching people how to grow their own food. Is another thing for folk with ADHD, autism, is to have purpose in their life and to be fulfilled. Because I don't think we were meant for this world where you sit in a cubicle and all that kind of office space kind of stuff. But some folk also relish that as well on the spectrum, right? That's what's so complicated. And I do wonder how cannabis, hemp, all the rest of it can support people's endocannabinoid systems into living a more pleasant life in this modern world. If they have, like, say, sensory issues. I know I'm kind of spitting a ball all over the place here, but I think there's a way for this plant to help people in so many different ways. Like the salve that I make, right? Shout out to Alabrihe for holding my hand through that a bit too, right? And also the book I got, I kind of follow the recipe on that. But this one person, you would never know. People would never think she's doing this, and she'll consume my gummies. She'll take salve that I make, rub it in her hands and her feet and things. She was at a point where she could barely kind of like walk without being in pain, and she couldn't grip a cup. She couldn't grip a coffee mug. So she comes over the next time, and she's bought her Microgreens for like a couple of years. She's a great supporter, lovely lady. She was crying because she's like, I can't believe this. It's all from this. And, the doctors are trying to push all this nonsense on her. And she was doing physio, but like, it's just like, holy shit, like this is this. And it's got a couple other ingredients in the salve other than just cannabis. So it's all together. I always say that as well. Like cannabis is not the cure-all and fix-all, right? Like, if you're down on the bell curve, it'll bring you up, but you're not going to sustain up there if you're not like eating well and exercising and having friendships and loving your life and things. It's going to dip right back down. But as another support system, catalyst is the wrong word, but that kind of thing. I just think cannabis is wonderful for that, and everyone can consume it at their own amount. Like Howlin, I love the fact that Howlin is open and talks about like he doesn't require a lot of cannabis for what he needs. And one of my best friends that I speak to on a daily, that's him. Like I mentioned that on one of the Ag podcasts. Like he doesn't want to have a lot. He vapes CBD flower and now mixing in THC flower as well and things. But I just love that. But I'm hoping to bring more people into the folds and at the same time, like the culture that's before, right? Like you can bring things to it, but we don't need to be all rushing out to make a insane profit off of things and all that nonsense and all the just nonsense.
Yeah, I am of the belief, man, that it's it should be treated as a plant, right? And we have a special relationship with it, and I think it should be treated as that, and not like this like glorified like people trying to do that where they're making all this money off of it. Let's just treat it like a fucking plant. Let's treat it like a tomato plant. Let's get it to the point where it's just in everybody's backyard like it used to be. You know what I mean? Or whoever it was that grew for that area. I'm hoping that we can be back there at some point, man. And that's.
It's what's great about all this equipment is you can use it for growing so many different things, right? Like when we are planning out our microgreen and mushroom business, part of that was, I can use the racks and the tents and the fans for either or. Like, so if one takes off more than the other, which is like what's happened, that's where the not supplies, sorry, but the resources or the asset, I guess, goes into is that. And that was a huge bit of us like planning out how are we going to have a plant business, and we didn't plan on doing gardening. Gardening came in because we weren't making enough selling the greens. And when you've got like an amazing product, and I'm saying this because we've been told this feedback, how tasty it is and all the rest, and then microgreens are loaded with vitamins A, C, E, and K. Some of them last a month in the fridge, right? Like the peas and the sunflowers last a month in there. And so I really encourage people to like learn how to grow this because it opens up other avenues, and just you see the happiness in people. Like it's rare that you see somebody who's got a passion project within plants and that still be unhappy like all the time. I feel like if they're like their business and their livelihood depend on it, that can be a different story, right? But it's even things like I don't like referring to cannabis as bitch. I can't stand that. Like it's so disrespectful to the plant that like enables me to walk at times. Like I just can't.
No, I hear you.
That word anyway. I try not to use, even though I use cunt all the time. But there's just different connotations to words in that, right? Like I talk about that with my therapist. But it's just that kind of thing of like, much respect to this plant. It has given me so many opportunities as well. Like all the cool fucking people I've met, especially in the last like 3 years since moving to Ohio, really. Just meeting more and more fucking dope people and that want to collaborate and create things together. Like doing like the Flammulated, the Dakar Haze Top was so fucking fun. Because I was able to I had a friend from the first ski season. He created my website for me and I jumped in and got back into it because I kind of I'm useless at this shit, I'm not going to do it anymore. But I pushed myself and did it and it worked. And then like Roger Beck, who did the Flammulated Coos Heed, and then the Dakar Haze artwork. It was just so fun, man. And shout out to him and Label My Bud. For people that do like the big names in cannabis for their labeling, they also do our little Farms Microgreen stuff now and then this project. And they never once made me feel like I was like the wee guy, even though I always felt as the wee man and all this. But when I'm like emailing back, can you make the eyes look 25% more stoned? and shit like that. Oh yeah, I got you, man. And then they're pushing me to do like other things and all the rest because it's that imposter syndrome a little bit too. Like, am I really doing this? And like, no, it's fucking stop caring, just fucking do it. You're doing it because you want to do it, and you've got something on your mind, on your chest that you want to get out. Like. Just, and by the way, grateful. You were one of the first people to buy one of my Dare t-shirts, right? One of my first things of selling. What am I going to do? And so thank you very much, because it means a lot, because you're like, oh, I do have something here that some other folk are liking as well, and just seeing people rock it all the time is just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, man. It's that was that. When you were putting out that Dare shirt, that was the first time I had heard about you. And I had heard about it by way of YAG. They had mentioned something about your shirt being for sale or something. So I scrambled. I went over to find you on Instagram and I messaged you. I was like, I've got to have one of these shirts, man. and we've been talking ever since, man. I mean, that was really, even, I think at that point, my Instagram account was still private. I really wasn't doing anything too crazy on there. And that was, another thing with this, doing this. I have social anxiety. I've got those things where I do something and then I second think it after I do it, and I beat myself up about it. So I was like, I'm never putting myself out there to be, basically judged or however just to get those wheels turning in my head. And, we had many conversations about this. So shout out to you for being one of those early on people that I was talking to that kind of said, just come out to the community, man. You were just so welcoming. So,
thanks,
and now man. Grateful's like trolling hate comments on our YouTube now.
Well, things happen.
I that's the thing. I know I'll have it like when I see comments, I'll definitely take some of it to heart, I'm sure.
It's one of those things, man, where there's so many people out there. Everybody's got their fucking opinion. Everybody's going to have their own opinion on however it is you do whatever, what are you going to do? It is what it is.
Actually, most of the negative comments we got have been constructive, and we have added it into our content.
Oh yeah, I'm all for that. Yeah.
Very few people have been straight up mean.
Just
what you did?
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah. But whenever they do that, we always say the same thing. We always say, well, thank you for wasting time with us.
we appreciate that you've wasted your time on us.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, man, no, it's crazy, that how this plant has all kind of brought us all together, right? I mean, none of us knew each other before this, and we all kind of met in one generalized area. I mean, I was really the one that kind of brought us all together, right? They have a great community for everybody. And it's just awesome to see everybody grow, going back to that Dare shirt, that first, and then to see you, we were talking and that you were, I don't recall exactly if you were already in the midst of a project. It was a project that didn't quite work out. So it's been awesome to see you kind of grow. And, when I first was like, I'm going to do a project, we got talking back and forth. I was able to bend your ear on things. And, it's been cool
we
to
talked
see
about the dry room.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. So, I definitely appreciate that. All those talks. I've definitely, you've helped me out quite a bit, man, for sure.
Appreciate that, man.
It's been awesome to see you grow to then have your first drop, with Dakar Haze. You've got your merch on there. You've got a website that you can, you still have some stuff available, right? Yeah. You want to tell us a little bit about, Dakar Haze? Tell us a little bit, you've got a fem line, you've got a reg line. What made you make these selections and bring Dakar Haze out to the world?
It started out homegrown Twinkie, who is particularly active on Reddit and Insta. They'd sent me some Zalmadelica pollen. I can't remember what it's Zalmadelica Express pollen, regular from pollen. I think Night Owl. So F3, F4 is my guess. I think it was, right. And I happened to have, as usual, a marathon plant growing in the tent. And so, and it was a bit later on, but I dusted it. And then 2 weeks later, Daz announced a bunch of reg drops. And that was one of them, was Marathon OG cross with Zalmadelica Express. And so I was like, oh, fuck, well, I might as well just buy them then, because that's going to be better selections than just like the one plant I had and dusting a few leaves, right? So, and it was super late too. Like it would have produced seeds, but whatever. We just end up chopping it and smoking it. And so I got sent out a couple packs and popped them. And it was my first time. And there was zero plan of like, oh, I'm going to release this down the road. It was, oh, I want to see what regular cannabis is like. I'd seen pictures online. And then as soon as I start doing it and I see like the different flowers, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? This is like really different. And then it gets bigger and bigger and the clusters start. And it could have been because it was in the basement, but a lot of I dumped science, so botanical terms I'm not spot on with. But some of the petals from the male flowers had this like cool like pink purple hue to it. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting too. It's like you have the microphone out, like not microphone, sorry, magnifying glass out and getting in there and looking at stuff and just been really into it. And then like the pollen dumping started. Holy moly, I could not believe how much pollen was coming out. I mean, the exhaust, everything was covered. The whole tent was like cake yellow. And it was just like, this is absolutely wild. I was just so engrossed by it. And then like you can see the pollen taking, like, you know, the pistils were shriveling and things. And so it really just captured my imagination. And I was fortunate that like, because it's Daz's genetics, right? The Marathon OG, which is dark owl, I suppose. And shout out to Stone Ninja for lining all that up back in the day. But then you've got the Zalmadelic Express, right? One of the best narrow leaf, right? So it's got my medicinal thing and it's got narrow leaf from ADHD. And so that's why I wanted to do that. And so when I grew out the F2s for the first time, I grew a bunch and I'm like loving the expressions and the purples and things. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool, man. I'm really liking that. But I couldn't believe the difference in them either. And like, structure, not just short and tall, but like where the bud sites are and things like that. And so again, the kind of hyperfixation rabbit hole kind of thing starts. And I'm really enjoying the smoke and I got some really interesting flavors. And this pine that has came out in the F4, that's that same one I've been chasing. However, I take it as this like red cola flavor that I had from growing up in Scotland. But having now spoke to other people, and my wife she always disagrees with me on terpenes. I think maybe the soda just had more of that taste than I realized, right? And so I just really fascinated it all. And then I started like, right, I'm gonna do this right. I lined up, I've got more tents, let's do it. And so I started popping like fucking 60 seeds and shit. Like
I was gonna say, I remember seeing some of the stuff, man. You were going at it.
And it's important. It is important to do that, right? I will say this as like. There's times I want to take the shortcut on things and all that, or just on, and I'm not saying like there's nothing wrong with just doing crosses for the sake of doing crosses, right? I'm not. I encourage more people to do it. It's so interesting, right? People should absolutely do it. Get your head stashed. You get seeds forever. Give out tons. Do whatever you want, right? But having the F2s were just so interesting because I had so many, and I was able to like see and differences within the males as well, right? Like that's a thing that I think often gets overlooked is. There's differences in all the males.
Got to cut the bulls.
Right. And also the timing of it and things, right? And so I will say that, like, thanks again to Alabrihe, to Full Duplex, to Daz. We've chatted about, they've been really receptive to my questions about these kind of things and like interfilial generation. Like I was asking Full Duplex about that last night because, you know, I see one time people are like, polyhybrids are the worst and it's destroying cannabis. And on the other hand, I'm like, man, I smoked some really good polyhybrids. That was really fun. So it's trying to find how to navigate that. So anyway, just really enjoying it. And then when they started getting so frosty and the purples kept on turning up, I was like, all right, I'm doing something like this. I'm going to do it for another generation and see what happens. And then maybe I'll do a fem line. And then when I started messing about getting to the fem line, that's when Alabrihe started posting on his e-zine, I think. Oh no, maybe it was before that. I think he'd been texting me first the instructions and even sent me one of the ingredients. I can't remember which. But it really pushed me into doing that. And so I've messed about with some reproduction things from myself. And it's just been really, really interesting. And like fem pollen, not always as much, or it looks like you're not getting enough. And then when you actually put it out on your tray and like work it, there's tons. There's more than you need for your next wee project. And
that's definitely something I'm excited to get into. I want to
really
try
cool.
fen pollen.
And doing it like so that the discipline of the timing and making like I'm enjoying that challenge in my life when I know because I'm diagnosed that I have this. I'm trying to treat it as a challenge at times. So when I'm like, all right, I've got to have seeds popped and ready by day 30 to catch up to be pollinated the next round or whatever, right? It was really cool doing the F3s. It was a second round because of some issues before, but the F3s, I grew them out. I culled the males. Then I picked my favourites of the females to reverse. Then I had to start the next round to be the receiving mums. And so all that kind of timing with everything else going on in my life was brilliant. Mad hatter, mad scientist, mad artist kind of thing at the same time. But then getting down there and like slowing down and making selections and think like, what do I like about that over this one? And being like, and also like when I think of my plants as art at time, right? That's why sometimes I do amend. I'm like, this is where I was at, the expression I could give at this moment in time. And so the Dakar Haze F4 expression that I released, there's still a few phenotypes within that. I've narrowed it down. I've already done some F5s because I want to see what comes out of it. Now, whether or not I sell them or release them, I don't know. I'm just purely interested in myself. Because before we got on, I'm smoking this Dakar Haze right now, and I'm at a really nice kind of elevation thing for the day. I'm still feeling bright and alert right now, but I've got 2 other F4 Fem lines because I separated and kept on doing this work, and so it's like what could come out? Like I'm in no rush. Like it took me a long time to get it to F4. I could have put out F2s and maybe sold a couple or whatever. I don't know. But it was really fun to get it. And honestly, the best thing is going into your Average Grow Discord and seeing the grow together and seeing people pop stuff. And like, it's cool to see. Like,
to see that feeling, to see your work in other people's gardens. Yes. I mean, it's not that I can say that I've done the work that you have, but just seeing those ones, the one round of seeds that I made, just to have that chance to be in someone's garden.
I'm so excited
to be able to have a project that you worked on and you obviously put so much work into it, man. Like how bad I did her in the mug, the Dakar Haze that I'm growing. She's beautiful, man. Like I can't wait to get her into an earth box size because like the purples that are coming off in that area of all these little bonsais that I have, she is the most colorful. Like
you could say blowjob. Dinner in the mug is really grotesque.
Because I enjoy plants of all kinds. Like I really enjoy growing red amaranth as a microgreen, as like a regular full plant. Like I love those different merlots and darker purples and reds. That was also why I was looking for in the Dakar Haze. I was also just fortunate that terpene profile, for the most part, followed it, right? And as did the frostiness. Like the frostiness on them is ridiculous. Like Howling's ones he's been sending pictures of, and I think is it Organics? I think his ones have been really frosty already. It's just been really neat.
And the press as well.
That was so fun, man. Johnny's pressing that, and we just couldn't believe it. We're like multiple times like weighing it out. Like, did we really get 30%, 30-something% return? No way, that can't be right.
I mean, we were like, because I think when we took it off, we had been smoking all day at that point. So I just went right into the jar instead of like, us testing it on the thing. And we were like, we didn't believe it. We were like, oh, something's got to be off. Like maybe it's getting the jar. So like we like put a jar on there. We were trying different things, going back and forth. And we're like, holy shit. Absolutely. So yeah, not only does it the yield, she looks good. She'll make you nonverbal.
Poor Tutal.
It's crazy.
So I loved saying he's not so tall when he's lying down, is he?
Right.
How many folk can say they've pinned Tutal? And it's wild, 4 grams in and 1.5 grams back. Like, and it was very terpy. Because it'd been cured for about 18 days at that point. So it'd been dried for about 10, probably cured for 18, and just absolutely phenomenal. And just it was really rad to just be doing that. And when I threw a Christmas party there, it was at our friend's stained glass art studio. And we've done a bunch of events there and going to continue to do so. out of nowhere, the husband, who is one of the artists too, he went and grabbed, I've got it here, the plant stakes. So he went and grabbed the glass he'd cut out for me, one of the Dakar Haze and things, and then just started making it. So doing like the patina work around the outside and things. And then they allowed people who were at the party for free. They just cut out the glass on the CNC machine. They got to pick out their glass and then taught everyone. It was just this beautiful moment of cannabis-inspired art, specifically Dakar Haze-inspired art. And you can tell, like I posted a picture of it, the leaves are spot on, right? Like that is me isolating. Like I really wanted to isolate things, and that it's definitely a hybrid, but it's more leaning narrow leaf. I feel like I've been trying to like articulate how I kind of feel about it, and because the effects, I find this cannabis affects me in different ways, different consumptions, different times of the day. Absolutely. But it was just really fun. And there was glass blowers going on, and one of the glass blowers like looked up. She's like, I can't believe like how much art is just going on right now. It's just great.
I've got to get out to one of them parties that you
I can't wait to do more. Awesome. I'm so excited. Like I've always been like, oh, we're going to do something here in the property. And it's like, I kind of like doing it over there. Like we threw a 420 party over there. We threw my 40th over there, which was pretty much just another 420 party. Yeah. It was fucking the invitation I made up on Canva. Again, that creative side that this community allows me to do. I took the background was all cannabis leaves, and then the picture was me at 5 years old with my big ginger mullet that I had, and I was like, "Happy 40th!" and invite folk round, and it was great. The cops get called accidentally. One of my mates, a guy who I'm teaching now how to grow, he'd sat on his phone weird, and it called the cops, and everyone was like, "Who's this number from this Tennessee number?" And then when the cops turned up, there was this like massive mason jars of weed sitting about. Shout out Ohio Nugs, one of the best folks I've met in my life. Ohio Nugs, he decked it out. He brought all kinds of stuff. He brought me a cup for my birthday, and the cop was just like, and the owner, the woman, she was out like, "Who's this? What's this cop want?" And it was, and she's so lovely though. But it was just we met through Master Gardeners. Me and this woman, like we met during through the university doing a Master Gardener's class, which we'll not get into that another time. But I've opened them up more to cannabis and saying things like, no, don't be hitting those distillate vape things. Like, get off of that. Like, don't be doing that. And she's introduced me to some really neat people as well. And it's a really cool space. And they're the ones that gifted my wife the kiln. So the kiln that we're installing in the garage. He came over and we wired it and all that, and just like, you know, when you find your people, your tribe, right? Oh, if I could get them onto the Discord, that'd be good.
There you go. Bring them in.
But it's just really dope, you know.
For cannabis to be like, you know, where a lot of the old views were, you know, it's bad people that do it, or you know, it's these, you know, thug deal, you know, drug people. Like, no, man, like it's not who we are.
Yeah,
bunch of hippies making art.
Right, I know. It's and I love all the folklore about it and all that kind of stuff, and it's just really fun, and just how much like and combine it with food and things, you know, it's just wonderful. And
now, one thing I wanted to ask you about is why did you choose to do a fem line and a regular line, and what's the difference between them? I mean,
great question. So the fem line is because I wanted the challenge of doing the spray and all the rest of it. I fight like a right wee chemist and all that, and spraying things and making sure I'm doing it all right. And then just make it easier, right? Again, what's easy for people? Pop some fem seeds in and Bob's your uncle. I wanted to put out the reg line because I want to see more people work with it. And I want people to have, when I'm thinking about the like what makes a true F1, right? It's having two parents which have been worked further. And so my kind of thought is, there's someone can take an F3 and do their own bit on it. Because there's different genetics with it, right? There's like a much more funkier OG one that comes out in the green flowers. And so it's like people could go that. Because honestly, I think about 19 out of 20 of the Dakar Haze are looking purple. Or some kind of deep red kind of colour. And I don't care what anyone says. I think it's fun to fucking grow shit like that. But at the same time, that green phenotype that comes out and it's like really quite chunky buds. It'd be really cool if somebody. Maybe I'll return and do that. But if not, someone else can do it. And
do you find the effects are any different between the two, the purple and the green, or are they pretty much still
right?
true?
Yes, the green is much more like kind of sedative, not but still hybridy, right? It's but it's definitely a much more of a kind of feeling. I found when you overindulge in the car haze, it's like the kind of thing. Like you're sitting
slowing down, like
your mind's still going. You're just like, how long's my mouth been just wide open for? I keep saying, like catching flies.
That's great.
That's great. I do want to get on to something because I like how you guys you talk about music, you talk about film, TV. Nerd, I have been inundating you with shows to watch. Some of them, it's like what I said was on like archive.org or something, because it just gets like taken down when it's in other places. They are that when I knew I was going across that second ski season, I sold most of my collection of like DVDs. But I kept a few, and it was some of these more like out there comedies and things that I'm like, man, this will probably get banned at one point down the line. It's just too weird. But the Brass Eye one that I sent you and was like, oh, you need to watch this. That does a great job of stitching up like modern day media, and it was back in the like late 90s, 2000s. But the hysteria over things, it would really just lampoon it. And when you see it, there's people that got like their first big break was in that show. Like Simon Pegg is actually in one of the episodes as like an unnamed kind of character. He has a speaking part, but it's wild to see him that. And now he's like Scotty in Star Trek and in Mission Impossible and things. It's absolutely wonderful. And how much of this like Black Mirror, Charlie Brooker, he used to be a writer for Games Master magazine back in the day, where he'd review video games. And then he got into reviewing TV shows and things, and then he ended up becoming a writer for all of it. It's a really cool, but he interchanges with the Brass Eye people, who also was like Armando Iannucci, who did Veep. So have you ever watched Veep on HBO? Which, by the way,
I've seen it multiple times.
You guys were talking about classic HBO shows, and nobody mentioned The Wire. With Alan Rehay. There was a while ago, and there was talk about Tremblay and things, and I was just waiting on The Wire, and The Wire, and The Wire. Fuck me, what a show. What an absolute stonker of a show.
No, I love The Wire. I actually watched The Wire for the first time all the way through last year.
It is brilliant.
It's so good. I watched the first season a handful of times, but like I think a lot of fans of the show say this, that the second season starts off really slow.
Yeah.
So I had given up at like season 2, episode 2, like 3 times, and I finally, my friend was like, you just need to power through it. And I was like, okay. And then, it just got amazing after that.
Brilliant. I made a poster one time that was vote Frank's, the vote Frank Sabotka, whatever like house he was in for the union lodge and all that. And I stuck it up in Park City, just a notice board. Just super niche bits of humor.
I originally got into like offbeat, I guess like British European shows through watching Adult Swim as a kid.
Right.
Because they would show Mighty Boosh or Garth Marenghi, like shows like that.
God,
and then I started venturing.
Yeah. That was so good. It is, a lot of people just do not get it though. Is you've got to have enjoyed that low budget BBC style 80s sci-fi to then really like, enjoy the show properly, like, because it stitches up so well, you know.
Yeah, the way I describe it to people is like, imagine if like the lore of Stephen King was a British comedy, right?
That's great. That's great. I never thought of it that way. That's spot on. I've been watching I've been really enjoying Netflix for like their international shows they have on. Like especially I've been watching a lot of like Irish shows. Like I keep talking about Derry Girls and the movie Kneecap.
I love Derry Girls. That's one of our
Derry Girls.
Oh yeah, my wife and I we put that on like every few months. We'll put that on at bedtime and watch it all the way through.
Same. Yeah.
I'm a wee lesbian.
Wait, Claire. It's funny though, right? So like being in the west of Scotland, I can see across to Northern Ireland on a nice day, right? Where growing up, there was a literal civil war going on there at the home. It never affected me in the slightest, right? Even though I'd be careful about, I'd never wear certain like Rangers or Celtic football tops and things like that. I also support my home team, but in Scotland, a lot of folk, if they're Protestant or Catholic, will support one or the other, right? Just because of bigotry, not particularly because of like geographical location or anything like that, right? And so always, and I do mean you have to be aware that I know plenty of folk had bad situations happen in that. Like it's very evident, especially in some of the villages in the outline. They're all Protestant that live there, and they've all got the Union Jack up everywhere and that kind of stuff. So I can see across Northern Ireland, but then you come across here and you can't see across Lake Erie, right? Like it's just wild, right? It's just absolutely wild. And my grandparents actually eloped to get married. One was Protestant, one was Catholic. And they eloped to get married and were chased by my great grandfather, who was a Protestant Mason, very high up in the Glasgow police. And so he was chasing to stop them marrying. It wasn't successful because they married. But even within my family, like one of my uncles goes to like Orange marches and he's in the Orange Lodge and Masonic Lodge. He's like, but your dad was a full-blown Catholic, like Irish Catholic. I remember finding his passport when I was rummaging about in my mum's bureau as a kid. And finding his passport and like couldn't pronounce his first name. I thought his name was Steve. No, it was this like really like thick Gaelic name. And so I don't know what it is. There's just, I think there's so much. I think more Americans, other than just learning up on their own history, right? Don't get me started on that. But they should learn more about Irish history and understand the dangers of like the way that like modern American society is going, because people, you know, we obviously understand what racism is across here, but in Ireland you can't spot a Catholic or a Protestant really, right? I mean, I've worked in villages where you can tell what kid is from what village based on the shape and size of their head, right? So you can't pick out a Catholic or a Protestant like that. And so seeing that like institutionalized, it's not racism, right? But it's that, it's not xenophobia either, but it's that kind of thing. It's just wild how it can affect, and what the British government did, right? Like they locked up people without any proof. They put them in internment. They thought, oh, we're going to catch them with that. So like that, I've been harping on about that movie Kneecap. It's on Netflix too. Oh, fucking brilliant. It is.
I haven't watched it, but I've like seen it come up.
It's really cool. And as much as it's just like a wild movie and there's lots of drugs and some violence and some sex and things and rap music, they're rapping in Gaelic, right? These three Catholic boys living in Belfast, which is in the north of Ireland, Northern Ireland, if you're into the British kind of way of thinking. Northern Irish people, I shut somebody up one time because they were complaining about people, trans people giving themselves a different name and identifying things like, mate, you identify as British. So if anybody can do that, but just like a really, it's just a really important lesson to understand about like institutionalism, British, like that whole thing. Like they're not to be trusted. I think that's why I'm always on the side of like wanting to support subcultures and things. Because like my great grandfather spoke Gaelic until he was 14. I don't speak a lick of it other than like saying cheers and that, or Chucky R. Laugh from watching Kneecap. But there's really poignant things throughout too, because they talk about his dad that disappears throughout his whole life because he was going around the place bombing, right? And but they do it in a humorous way, and it's just really, really interesting and an insight of what culture is like over there, like what people actually want. And I thoroughly encourage people to watch it and watch it more than once, because it does a great job of like translating the Gaelic with text and things on the screen, like with graphics. It's really fucking dope. It's definitely had quite enough. I never thought I'd listen to people rapping in Gaelic ever in my life. Even when I've listened to rap since I was like early doors. Like I used to stay up to crazy hours just to catch rap on the radio, and never thought I'd listen to Gaelic rap. And it's super interesting. I rap about things like taking MDMA and smoking weed all the time and things like that. And it's brilliant, man. It's really, really interesting.
Since I've been sick all week, I was like 3 seasons behind on What We Do in the Shadows. So I'm at the point where I have 2 episodes left, and then I was gonna start Still Game after that.
Oh, I love. I haven't finished What We Do in the Shadows either. I need to get back into it. Still Game is just quintessential Scottish humour, and one of those few that breaks through, like down to England, right, to the rest of Britain. but now like worldwide. And I think I said in a message to you is that my wife loves it, and the day I bought the box set for her, I got it imported, and then the very next day Netflix put it out, and it's been out since. So that box set is just sat there. But it's just great. I encourage folk to watch it too, because yes, it's a very typical kind of sitcom in a lot of ways, but it's people playing much older versions of themselves, and all the hijinks they get into is just absolutely hysterical. Again, another very poignant show, and by the end of it, like they brought it back for a few episodes, and I was greeting during watching it. It was like such a it's done. But one of those things that polarizes people, because when they brought it back, they introduced some new characters, like those kind of sitcom-y things. You're like, oh god.
Yeah.
And some of it did not work. But then on some other bits, I thought, no, that was really good. As someone who enjoys TV and the kind of behind the scenes things of some of that, it's like, no, that was actually really smart, like how they did that. And people just don't like it because they're just looking for a reason to hate on it. But I'm looking forward to doing that. It's a really fun show.
Yeah, I know it's one of the big ones I haven't seen yet.
I will say, being Scottish is awesome. I got my citizenship this year, right? And the amount of people say, "Oh, congratulations!" And I'm like, being born Scottish, I won the lottery in life, right? Like, we're the best. We're the best wee country in the world. We've got tons and tons of issues, but it's just something different about being Scottish, even though it changes throughout like the country. Like the travelling football support, right? Even though at home in Scotland they'll batter 6 lumps of shite at each other, right? But then they go abroad to support Scotland. Everyone's best pals. They're on their best behaviour. They're tidying up after themselves in restaurant and pubs. Meanwhile, the English are like torching the place and throwing petrol bombs and shit. And it's just this thing about being Scottish, right? I think it's that always having England kind of over you. And the last few years, it's been evident of how that's not been the best interest for Scotland. Again, that's why I'm so like anti some things across here, and I open up my mouth about it, because I'm like, why are we doing this? Did we not learn? You guys fought a war over this and you won it. Like, why do you want to celebrate oligarchs and getting back into monarchy? It makes no sense to me. Who are going to control all the media. So it's like, that's why it's important, like folk like yourselves doing your own media. You never know where it can take you. Look at Beard Brothers. I don't know if you follow those guys, but they break a lot of cannabis news and social activism news, I'm trying to say. They started out as growers, and now they're doing a lot of like media and things. And man, if you guys end up being on that, there'll be a lot of beards, a lot of weirdos with beardos there.
I think it just comes with the territory.
I'm not allowed. I used to grow a mustache. That would go.
I've seen some pictures of it. It was quite impressive. Quite impressive.
And my wife refused. My wife refused to shave her legs until I shaved off the moustache. But she'd still keep the lady garden trim, so I'd call it the V-neck sweater.
God damn, that's perfect.
Oh boy, that's too funny, man. What's going on in your garden? What do you got cooking?
All right, so we've got we consistently grow. What are you talking about? Oh, sorry, I was about to say I started my microgreens. I've got all them right now though. On the ganja side of things, behind me have 3 Chem 91s from Night Owl and 2. Is it Cosmic Queen 6? Is that how we're pronounce it? I think. Or it's one of the Roman numerals. They're all in 5-gal autopots. Some have Nature's Living Soil. Some have my super soil mix. But it's the first time I'm using air domes. So I always recommend air bases for autopot. But I've now finally started using the air. I've sat on them for over a year. I've just always been, that's another thing to maintain. And just more recently, I'm like, no, I am going in on things. Like I've got a cloner going on back there. I've been taking lots of cuts. So that's what I've got in there. The growth is vigorous. I'm super excited for this medicine to come out, especially Cosmic Queen.
Now, what size pots are you running?
5-gal fabric on top of the 1 pot XL, and absolutely flying. Then I've got a bunch of photo periods. I've got some Stone Ninjas, Ninja Spice. I've got Jinx Proofs, Hell on Wheels, And then I've got in another area just set up, I have some original Bruce Banner F2s, one of which is variegated. I don't know if they're regulars, so I don't know if they're male or female, but I'm really excited to do
it. Looks pretty crazy.
It's really fun. I'm enjoying the photo side of it, like taking all the cuts as well. And then I've got my breeding projects as well. So I've got blueberry Weverse that's been pollinated to go to F2. And then I've got Glue Microverse F1 to F2 started, along with some testers of some femmes that I was just messing about with. So that's an important thing for me too, is to grow out things and test it before I release. Like that's something I want to keep on top of.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to give some of these other ones a try. I know I've when we went to hang out, you had given me some samples, and you're like, hey, make sure some of these gets nerd. My apologies, I enjoyed them, and they didn't make it long, so we'll have to. I'll find a way to make that up to you.
That's hilarious.
What's up, man?
But
I just bought you a concert ticket yesterday.
I know, dude. I know. I'm fucked up. What can I say? I know. But no, I'm excited to grow some of those other ones that you're working on, man. They were a joy to smoke. Good work, sir.
The Blueberry Weverse is like super fun. It's got two of my favorite blue strains, and it came together really well. Especially, what's that? So that's Blueberry Slushy F5 from Rockbud and Blue Microverse F5 from Night Owl. Now I got the regs through Rinse Warrior and did a reproduction line for myself, and then at the same time did these pollinations. But I'd been on my mind for ages, and I tried to do it as I'd tried to get Blue Microverse seeds before regs, like beg, borrow, steal kind of thing for them. And they never worked. They were older seeds. Who knows how they were stored? And so now, thanks to using the can, I do like that can though. It's a good piece of kit. Good shout out on that. I've got a couple of them, especially for breeding. Having multiple lines going at once and not having tons of cups and for my ADHD, all these bits of paper labeling and all that bullshit. It is way better organization skills for not just cannabis, any seeds. Like it's
no, absolutely. It's one of those devices. Like I know how the communities can be and how content can be where they're, these products are getting pushed on people, and sometimes they're useful, sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
I truly believe that the can has worked well. Like you said, before that, it was just putting shit into, making sure you had these jars and then, all this stuff. It's just nice to have this one little thing for it. So for whatever that's worth to some people, it's definitely a device that's worth it. So
what percentage, what do you think the total percentage of solo cups goes to cannabis gardening supplies?
Yeah, right.
I love that.
It's like, mason jars.
Their market share is like, it's like beer pong, cannabis growers, birthday parties.
Yeah, I taught the kids at the class how to do like solo cup, like transplant tech.
Yeah.
Cut off the bottom, cut off the top. I hope that like say, well, how many years would it have to be? Let's just say 20 years time, they'll be like, oh my God, he was teaching us how to grow weed back then.
Yep. It's so funny that I have recollections of like, me growing up and like, like your parents' friends being around. You're like, that all makes sense now. Like I see what was going on. That's cool, man. And just to stay on the gardens here, what do we got going on in your garden, Nerd? Anything fun?
All right, so my small tent with all your seeds in it, all those plants are between day 53 and 55, and I have 6 of those going.
Yeah,
and the one is still touching the light. I've super cropped it 3 times. Like the main cola looks like a crazy straw right now, and it still is just like gut. Maybe I have to turn the light up, but
so that's the one that's touching the light is the one that's in the low boy new moon 5-gallon one, right? So she had a little bit of extra room to kind of reach out there, even though she's got a roommate there. Man, it's the tangy in the cross, man. The tangy and Mandala effects can get pretty big as well. So I think these crosses, this 91 grapefruit, and what it's putting into these other crosses are pretty cool, man. And it seems like it's definitely bringing some size, some yield. I mean, you guys, the largest plant that I've grown is in my garden now. So it's cool to see that it's performing that same way in other people's gardens.
I like a lot the head stash garden.
Yeah.
All right. So I have Cherry Bangarang is on day 74. So
she was smelling good last time I was over there.
Yeah, I'm gonna start checking it. I wanted to wait until I wasn't sick, so I'm like not trying to cough on the plants and shit. I have West Coast Tucadillo at 55. It is a little small on the small side, but it's really good looking. So
good.
Yeah, it's going great. And then I have on 53, I have Backup Terry, and that thing is just insane. It's just a huge bush. I've like defoliated twice already, and it's still just a sea of leaves.
That's awesome.
Love it.
And then I have Eggnog Special on day 4.
Eggnog Special. Hell yeah. Right on, man. Right on.
So that's good. Pretty good. Oh, weird thing about that, right? So I had planted Mephisto strawberry nuggets before the eggnog, and it didn't germinate. Right?
Oh no.
So here's the weird thing. So I planted it here. I planted the eggnog right on top of it, and then yesterday a seedling popped up over here in the earth box.
Oh shit!
And I was like, "What's that?"
Damn,
it was like 6 inches away from where I planted.
Too much water and it pushed the seed out, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you so after you planted the seed, did you water on top afterwards, or?
I usually when I plant, because I direct sow, I will like get the soil pretty soaked, and then what I do is I put the seed in, and then I put a clear solo cup over it, and then I water the top of the cup for like the next few days. So then that way it like goes down to the rim and soaks in.
Okay. Yeah. She must have migrated over a little bit.
Just drifted. all the gnats carried it on its back.
Yeah.
Why you getting gnats?
I had I've always had them.
All right. Well, that's like, where my follow-up question was going to go. Did I give you Organoshield to give him?
No.
Fuck. Okay. I'll we'll sort that out. This stuff is brilliant. I'm starting repping them in Ohio, and it is just a true like organic compound for your garden. It acts as a desiccant to dry out soft-bodied insects. But if you use it outdoors, it protects pollinators and all that. It's completely bee safe,
no kidding,
planet safe, cool. Pet safe. I gave some to Johnny. He got rid of his gnats with it. I think we applied like 2. Jesus, fuck is that?
There goes your gnat.
What the fucking hell? I wonder if it takes care of them. But the plants actually like it too. So the let me get the name right. So the sucrose oxidate, I believe, is what the compound is. It's found in tobacco. But you couldn't grow enough tobacco, not all tobacco, but some of them, it's their IPM, it wards off the insects. You could not grow enough tobacco to produce Organoshield, though, so they synthesized it. And actually, when it hits the plants, it gives off carbon dioxide. And so the plants are breathing that in at their stomata level, like right off the leaves. And so they've found, like in things like corn, for example, like the yields are higher when it's been treated with Organoshield. And so I wouldn't spray with anything, right? Like I would just toss plants outdoors, especially like if they get weird, powdery mildew, whatever I just got rid of. But it's just absolutely working great. And like it takes I think it counted as a pesticide, miticide, and right now they're looking at how it's getting used as a fungicide as well. So I'm really stoked to be using it. I've been using it for a year, and then through again meeting up within our community, I get kind of pushed into meeting up with Nate, Nathan Chan. He's a lovely fella from Australia. His mum from about half an hour where I'm from. And we were meant to hang out for like 45 minutes, just a wee safety meeting, and it turned into 5 hours. And, we were chatting, and I just like, I could see myself like wanting to do stuff with him down the line. And yeah, I want to like navigate that around here. No, I don't want to be like an influencer, right? But I want to like rep the companies that I've used and I think are good products and people should use them.
Yeah, what you believe in, yeah, absolutely.
That I believe in. And so that's going for Autopot as well. So that it's been really exciting meeting more with them and discussing what I can do out here for them and all that, and educating people. I've surprised myself, even though I don't grow with minerals, I know much more like of the information again from learning from people giving out free knowledge, right? Like the Autopot Discord is really good. It's pretty it's about Autopot and things. And so it's really handy to go in there. And when I had questions about the air domes, for example, I was using that. So again, products that I like to use and have supported us and vice versa. So we'll figure that Organoshield thing for you for sure, mate, because it's a
cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I buy the big fly strips, the ones that look like a roll of aluminum foil, right?
Yeah.
So I usually put 2 of those in each tent, and by the end of a cycle, they're like completely coated with flies. And then other than that, I just use Captain Jack's Super Soap. If I have any like problematic areas, I'll spray it. But I just thought having like some flies was part of Grow Your Organic.
I accepted it to some extent too, of like, oh god, and I don't know how I get them. However, I lost a bunch of really rare seeds and plants because I didn't treat them like I should have done, and the gnats ate the seedlings. Like they killed off all of the roots. So or whatever insect it was, right? And then it's like, that's my lesson learned. I should have started with fresh soil for this particular project. But now doing it as a root drench, I think it's like I did like 60 ml per gallon, and it did the job. It dried them out. Again, the plants liked it. I think it was feeding it through the roots as well. So I don't know if you would count it as then becoming like systemic per se or anything, but it was. It's really been an eye opener of like, wow, this is like a proper quality product, and the way that Nathan lives his life too, and his background in like holistic medicine and things from his family. He would not work with this company if it wasn't the real deal. And they've got all the OMRI and USDA organic stuff and all that stuff too.
Nice. It's always good to have a good product and not to have shit support behind it, or like the guy that invented it is just a fucking dick. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, exactly. And there's tons you can make at home, right? Like I am trying myself to close the loop. Like, although I do a super soil, my goal is to get into doing beds. Like one of my goals this year is to do a trade to grow raised bed, right? I find it fascinating. I love watching all your guys grows in that way and reusing the soil. That's absolutely what I want to do. And I've had much success making like, the isopropyl alcohol with pepper seeds, for example, capsicum.
Oh yeah, the capsaicin spray.
Yeah, I had good success with that stuff too. But this is just, and for the cost of it, it'll last you forever. Like I use it for spraying outdoors, and I can offer that as like a really good value product to my gardening clients because I'm not ripping them off for it. It's like, no, let's just safely take care of your garden, please, and not put all this fucking shite that's left over from World War II in your garden. Like, jeez.
No, I'm excited. I'm going to be definitely using it on my outdoors this year. You remember, I think you were telling me about it when I was battling those slugs and everything. He's like, you were like, dude, just get this. It'll take care of it. And
they hate it. They instantly shrivel up and start dying. It's kind of wild.
They're gonna get it this year. I'm hitting the outdoor veggie garden hard this year, so
nice.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do. I want to do a big pump. I bought pumpkin seeds and tobacco seeds and all that too to fuck about with. So I definitely am looking forward to doing some just massive pumpkins out the front, and I've got all these like liquid newts that I won't use. I've started using these bloom yellow bottle newts as well as part like through Nathan Organoshield, and some of them are doing great for my plants, like the silica, for example. And the roots product. So I want to like add it to these plants and just see how well they do. And then do the thing with like the palette underneath and all that jazz. Like, why not? I've got this stuff. I just need to be again, be disciplined and do it.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear that you're growing tobacco. You're definitely gonna have to do the grow along with us.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I've got that. I've grown it before, and I couldn't find the seeds. It was in a teeny wee packet, and we have just gotten.
They're so tiny. It's crazy.
An insane amount of seeds, right? And so when I had to like make up the extra on shipping, I was like, fuck it, I'll get some this, and I got I'm doing a bunch of Fresno peppers for a local hot sauce company.
Nice.
They do like lacto fermentation, uncooked hot sauce. And I made my own as well. So like the worst comes to the worst, if something falls through in the deal, I'll just do it because I really enjoyed the flavor. I'm kind of obsessed with it. I love hot sauces, and especially the probiotic style ones. It's the rich umami flavor of it all. It's just really interesting, and how easy it was. That's what's so great about all this. You're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this in fermentation. That was the easiest thing I've done in so long, and it came out like just superb, like another level.
Speaking of hot sauce, the first fermented one that I had, it was actually from Alebrije, and it was a mango one, and man, that was
Alebrije hot sauce.
Alebrije hot sauce.
And while we're on the topic of hot sauce, shout out to Sam's House. Yeah. Oh, look at you got that one. Oh, nice. Ooh. Yeah, he sent us a little care package. So,
is that to mop the sweat from your brow?
Yes.
Oh lordy, this hot sauce is killing me.
But yeah, shout out to him, man. If y'all haven't heard,
Alebrije hot sauce. Wash your hands after.
Alebrije hot cock.
Oh, no.
I do put it on chicken quite often, actually. The mango one's got a nice wee nip to it. I like it's got a wee bit extra heat. Like, ooh, I like that. Ooh.
One time I put a Carolina Reaper into a bottle of tequila for a couple days. And then it was the night I was going to propose to my wife. So I was really nervous, and I was taking shots of it. And the second shot hit me so hard I coughed, but I coughed the whole shot up into my nasal passage. and I just went into the bathroom and just like ran the faucet over my face. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Will you marry me?
Yeah.
Snot pouring out. Fucking
if you'll take me at my worst.
Yeah, I got into it. The YouTube show Good Mythical Morning. I saw they did this was like 10 years ago or more, but the Ghost Pepper Challenge, and then my friend and I did it, and then my friend and I did the Carolina Reaper Challenge, and then we started buying hot sauces after that.
Nice.
And, like, it's good, but I'm at the point where I've like ruined it for myself because like no restaurant can make anything that's like decently hot because my tolerance is so high now.
Right. Yeah. Get into some Indian curries, mate. Get some proper. Get a Ruby Murray. Get yourself a fucking Ruby Murray.
You go to a restaurant and then the waiter's like, "Are you sure you want this?"
Yes.
We'll have to make you sign a waiver.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they're like, I was like, yeah, it was all right. with my fucking Daria affect. It was like, yeah, it was good.
There's a guy around here, Amlet Pepperco. He did at the gardening festival for my gardeners club. I'm part of the organising committee, and he did a live like pepper chip challenge on, like streamed it and at the event. And so this is mostly people in their 60s and 70s are in this garden club. And then here's Amlet, and he's like just pouring sweat. Handled like a champ though. Like it was amazing. Like 5 minutes, he had like the timer set up to like a big box timer to show it. And it was impressive stuff. He grows some fire as well. Like it is some really cool peppers. Like I love the kind of different corked ones and all that. There's all kinds of cool shit you can do.
They've definitely got some cool ones that they breeded into these, these different styles, and get the striped ones. And, it's really cool what they do.
It's really neat. I somehow won like a bunch of actually they're up here, first like prize awards and that for my peppers, but only because mine were more uniform, right? Even though I didn't think they were cool, because the other ones weren't the same, like the judging criteria is all three have to be very similar. But we didn't really pay attention to that. So like I won someone, I'm like, how did mine win? Yours are way fucking cooler and better. Like, but at the same time, I'm totally milking it in them just to line up. Like, oh, award winning pepper champ over here. My award winning, my sauce, my bucket hot sauce. Just chuck all the peppers in and ferment it.
Well, listen, man, it's been great having you on here. I really appreciate you spending the time this morning with us, and it's always great talking with you. We're definitely gonna have to get you back on. But leave us with you got anything to plug? Anything you want to mention before we head out?
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to be doing some educational content. I've got one coming out. I've been planning it for a while. I'm hoping to do it in person to really, just teach as we go, be a hands-on class. And at the same time, like I said, I'm repping OrganiShield. I'll be working with Autopot more in the future, doing more events for them out here in Ohio. And my website, albaautomatics.com. I've got some merch up there. I've got Dakar Haze seeds, like we said, the F4s and the F3s. I'm testing some just now. I've got some CBD crosses coming out I'm really excited about.
Okay.
So I've been working on them. Again, we'll see some interesting colours from them. But I want to make sure and smoke them and all that first. Every order that people place on the website, I do volunteer 30 minutes of my time. So like I teach kids. When that finishes, if I still have volunteer hours, even if I don't, I'll probably go volunteer at the dog shelter and try and give back in that. It's an important thing for me is, again, that fulfillment of what we're doing here. And so, I've got my salve up there as well. Like I said, it's just incredible to use that. And
I've heard great things about it. Everybody that's used it has talked highly about it.
Nice, man. Well. I know it's that. It's like, what's my kind of purpose right now? And I think it's to be able to help as many people find that growing their own food, growing their own medicine. At the same time, I'm a family man, right? Like I love being around my daughter and being my wife. That was the main driving force of us taking this big risk and putting everything into caring for plants. Was allowing us. So I do like to say things like trust in the plants, right? Take care of the plants, and the plants will take care of you. And I truly believe that to my core. When I hear these health issues people have, I'm like, need to get you in some microgreens. It's just wild. So grow your own. Reach out to me, please. Like I genuinely mean that. If you're trying to start your own business and you're struggling how to start that, like I've been all through this in the last few years, so I have like up-to-date information of doing that, and just use me as a soundboard. Like I'm not going to rip off your ideas or anything like that. I can give you ideas. Now, if people want to like learn how to grow microgreens and set up a farm and all the complications around that, please reach out as a genuine offer. Like I'd be stoked to help people out in that. And even if you don't have much space, you'd be surprised what needs to be done. So, and guys, thank you very much for having me on. Like I said, you've really inspired me in a lot of ways. I'm enjoying catching up on stuff that I missed before. Like I'm not the best podcast listener, but I'm really enjoying it all. Like and there, like your spin on it with the editing and things is right up my alley. You guys are constantly cracking me up. Like grateful you have a knack for it as well. Don't ever talk yourself down on it. It's really fun. So thank you. And thank you for just come up here and spout a lot of shite. Right, I've got lots to say, and I forgot we were recording for a lot of it. I was enjoying myself just chatting to you. So thanks very much.
Man, we hang out in the Discord, and we can lose ourselves just talking and talking. I knew that it was going to be great to have you on, and thank you, man. We had a great time.
Absolutely, mate. Cool. Thanks, fellas.
Cool, man. Well, listen, we'll see y'all later. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.